Today's topic, listing presentation, right? Elevating your listing presentation for a competitive edge. What can we do that sets us apart on the listing side, right? We all have presentations, at least I hope all of us do. Well, we should if we don't, but most of us have presentations and we have our own style. Some of us have pre-list presentations. I used to do that in the past. I don't do it anymore. Maybe I should, but I don't do that anymore because my presentation has evolved. Listing presentation is something necessary, and we all have our own style. We don't have to take our laptop or print out, 100 pages or, just show up with our business card. We all have our own style. But there has to be a structure, right? So sellers often decide within the first meeting who they trust most, right? Just like anybody else, when we go for an interview, when we meet a buyer, when we meet a seller, most people are going to see us and judge us based on our first interaction and meeting. Strong presentation increases listing conversion, right? So your conversion rate is a lot better, right? So think of it this way. Two people go in, both equally skilled. One person says, yeah, I can sell your house. The other person shows how they can sell your house and how they have helped other people do the same, right? And confidence and clarity can influence decisions more than pricing alone. A lot of times people say, yeah, I think I can get you that price, right? We all, a lot of us have done that, right? Not a good practice. Sometimes we just say yes to the seller to get the listing. Yeah, I think I can get you that price. But sometimes that's not what the sellers are looking for. They're looking for somebody who's competent and who can get the job done, right? Because saying yes to sellers, yes, a lot of sellers like it. They're like, wow, sure, let's do that. But eventually they realize because, house is not going to sell because the sellers think their house is worth so and so. Confidence and clarity can, a lot of times I've give you an example, and I'm sure you guys have examples too for this. A lot of times I go in and I tell them, I said, look, maybe somebody told you that they can get you this price and they wanted your listing, but I'm telling you based on what's happening in the market right now, right? And when are you planning to sell your house? You're not planning to sell it in the past, that's gone. You're not planning to sell it in the future, next year. You're planning to sell it right now. This is what's happening right now, right? And I'm showing you stats, actual numbers, what people listed, what they sold. And people say, look, this person's coming in with stats. They're giving me confidence that I can get this price, which is not their ideal price, but they can see that, that you're prepared. We're ready to show them stats. We're not just saying yes to everything that the sellers are saying. A lot of times they'll pick the person saying, oh, I can get you 550 instead of 600, right? Like, sure, let's go with this person. I feel more confident, right? So pricing alone is not what sellers decide on. They also need somebody who can get the job done. Because ultimately, listing a house at whatever price, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't benefit anyone, right? You lose the seller, you're going to lose the sale. People on the street will know this person listed and didn't sell, and you don't make any commission or nothing. You didn't get paid, right? Now you've spent all that time, effort, open houses, marketing, all for nothing, right? So it's not always a good idea to just price it what the sellers want. I would take the approach of telling them and showing them, look, this is why we should price it not 600 but 550 because homes are selling for 550, right? And then we don't want to be on the market. So just showing them what happens if you stay on the market too long, how we've helped other people do the same thing, right? Any questions on this? Do you guys, let's do a quick mini roundtable. Do we have listing presentations or anything like listing presentation? Do we use it? Is it good? Should we use it? I'll ask Mega. Mega, do you have listing presentation?
No, I'd be honest, I don't have a full-fledged ready listing presentation. I am working on creating it. So that's where it's the positive part. I am, looking at I'm attending a lot of people's seminar and, seeing what are other people doing and then trying to add it in my listing presentation.
Yeah,
If anybody
perfect.
has any
Perfect.
tips, I am more than happy to use them. So please let me know if anybody has any tips to make the amazing listing presentation.
Sure. I'll send you what I have. I asked Jackie. I'm sure Jackie has her own style and listing presentation. Jackie, what about you? Do you believe in listing presentations? Do you think it's something good, bad? What's your
Um,
take on it?
I've had multiple, oh, sorry. I've had multiple listing presentations over the time I've been in real estate, and they kind of change. When
Yeah,
I first started, I was very faithful in using a listing presentation. Like it was this nice, lovely, pretty book that I printed out in color. And um, as time progressed, I'm going to say that I don't always use my listing presentation. I just talk.
yeah,
Sometimes I will bring stats just to show what's happening in the market. The problem is with me, 85 to 90% of my business is repeat. So it's not like I'm trying to promote myself. When I go to someone new, then I would bring a listing presentation, but I don't use it right now because I've been around so long.
yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you. Thanks, Jackie.
Welcome.
What about Maureen? What's your take on it?
Similar to Jackie, most people know, excuse me, who I am. Um, I think if you don't have something, even if it's familiar, it's your company, it's who you are. I don't mean a resume, but it is similar. So I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing in some form of paperwork. It doesn't have to be really lengthy, but just to show that, you have a company behind you, what the franchise is all about. If you're on a team, explain that kind of a situation. And I don't know, I'm just of a philosophy. I'd rather talk with people than at them. So I don't get
Yeah,
too detailed. I'm there to find out what their real estate journey is. Do I do it sometimes in a two-part scenario? Yes, because I don't want to talk about stuff they're not interested in. So that's
got it.
my kind of take on it.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh, good, good. That's what I do too. And I feel like it evolves, right? With us knowing more, knowing a lot of the things. We don't have to show it to them. We can just tell them, yeah, this is what's happening, right? So same thing with my personal listing presentation too. It has evolved. I used to send out pre-list packages, this and a listing package, and then after list package that would say thank you and stuff and stuff and stuff. Now I'm more direct and I find out what they're looking for, and I still take some of the stuff, but that's more stats. So it's changing, and who knows, it may change again, right? Because things keep changing, like, and I keep trying different things. So perfect. What about Harold? Harold, what's your take on listing presentations? Is it,
My listing presentation has evolved over the years based
yeah,
on every person. I try to find out more about the person I'm going to be meeting first, and then
yeah,
I make my presentation based on what I've learned about them. You know, like are
yeah,
they seniors? Are they young people? Are they first-time home buyers? How many homes have they had in the past? It
yeah,
all makes a difference. When was the last time they did a real estate transaction? Makes a big difference.
yeah. Perfect. So what I'm gathering from this is we all have a listing presentation, but it's not something that's printed out or, but we have our own style. And some of us, as soon as we get more information about the client, we kind of mold it so it's more catered towards them rather than just the same thing presenting to everyone, right? I do the same thing. If it's a person buying their fourth house, I wouldn't, treat them the same way as if they're buying their first house, I mean, selling their first house, right? So it's different. They've been through transactions, they're looking for a specific outcome. So, yeah. So, same with mine too. Keeps evolving, keeps changing. And who knows, I may go back to doing pre-list presentations, right? I used to send out packages and I had a lot of success, but at the same time, it I had success with other things too. So now I have to pick and choose. What should we do, right? Perfect. Well, thanks everyone. Let's continue with um, structuring the presentation. Again, I think some of us we don't have like, including me, I don't have like a written 10 slides slideshow, but I have something in my mind, and then I have a structure in my mind, but it's not a slideshow of 10 pages or 15 pages, right? So it has to be clear, with a clear flowing message, with market insights, strategy, and expected outcomes, right? A lot of us I've seen people make really fancy, um, out of this world presentation, but it's too complicated, too many things that are confusing. So it has to be a clear message. We have to show them what's happening in the market. We have to share and bounce some strategies off of them, like we can do this or we can do this, and then show them expected outcomes, right? That's what a seller is looking for. They're looking for a path to get from A to B. Use data to support pricing, timing, and market decisions, right? Again, really, really big thing. A lot of sellers are now very well informed, but still they don't have that much data and information like we do. So always showing them what's happening, what's selling, and all the stats, just showing it to them and showing them that we're not hiding anything from them. We're just showing them what it is and try to get them to sell at the best possible time and the best possible price. And the guiding them step by step to reduce uncertainty. Sellers, again, sometimes I'm sure you guys have felt the same way. We meet sellers and it's their fourth house, but their third house that they sold was 10 years ago, and the market was completely different. And they're feeling now overwhelmed. They don't know what's happening. They're hearing all of these things, the AI, the market's changing, the social media and stuff. So they have no clue how they will sell their house in this market, right? So we have to have a step-by-step process so we can show them that this is what we will be doing, this is what's happening in the market, right? And delivering with authority and precision, right? So a lot of us, when we don't have a presentation, right, it signals something. Let's say there's a seller, they have 10 agents, right? A lot of newer agents will go in with really fancy things, a lot of paperwork stuff, right? And a lot of us who've been in the business, we already have the stats, we've sold something on the street, right? We're going in with authority. We have a few stats, we have the listing presentation, and we don't need the fancy presentation or anything, complicated. We're just going in, answering all of their questions clearly, confidently, and they feel more relaxed, right? So that kind of builds authority. But to get to this point where we don't need it's kind of counter to what I'm saying. Like to get to a point where you don't need a listing presentation, for newer agents, we actually do need a listing presentation to see and to practice. And then we get to a point where we ultimately have practiced it so many times that we don't really need any of the listing presentation, right? I want to recommend newer agents to just go in and, with their card and say, okay, I'm here, I'm ready, let's sell this, right? That wouldn't work. So to get to a point where you're comfortable and you know your stats, you know where you're coming from a mindset of abundance. You're like, yeah, you know what? I know I can do this. I've done this many times. I have other sellers lined up. You have your stats, you're active in the market. You don't need a listing presentation, right? But to get to that point, you actually do need a listing presentation, right? I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's just how the cycle is, right? For newer agents, you have to have a listing presentation. You have to present it to your sellers. You have to get the yes and the no's and, the objections. And then one day you get to a point where you don't need any listing presentations. All the top agents I've met, because I had friends and I'm like, oh, you sold with that guy. Like it's just billboards are everywhere, like not one billboard. Like what was different? I said nothing was different. They didn't have even any listing presentation, right? I was surprised, right? Again, going back to delivering with authority and precision, right? Sellers, buyers, they can see us, they can sense us, right? They're like, oh, this person, I know they've done this a million times. I trust them, right? So getting to this level will require a lot of practice, doing the presentation, winning some people over losing some people. And then once we are at this point, we actually can just show up, right, with some stats and just talk to them, answer any or all of their questions, right? That brings me to my next point. Anticipate their objections and address them proactively, right? Sometimes they say, but what if the house doesn't sell, right? We say, yeah, if we're pricing it right, if we're pricing it where the market is showing us that this is where it will sell, and we're using everything to market it, it will sell. Right? Okay, but what happens? Like we know what they're asking and what they're going to ask, and we know how to address it in a professional and a like a um, in a professional and a more in a way where they can see that, okay, this person knows, right? Because sellers and buyers, they'll always test us. They'll ask some question. Just throwing that question to see, oh, well, what if this happened? Yeah, that happened. Like I've had a client with that happen and we handled it this way. Right? Oh, okay, right? So that's how they know that, okay, this person knows. And then consistency in delivery builds credibility and trust, right? So this consistency starts from the first day, right? They've asked us a question, they wanted a home evaluation done, now they're ready for their listing presentation, they have 3, 4 agents. If we're consistent, we're giving them value, they see that, okay, this person's on top of their game, they're answering my emails, they're answering my phone calls, they're answering my text, and they're showing up on time. Everything is going really well so far, and I haven't even signed up with them, right? And I always like to remind them. I will say that, have you noticed from the day that you texted me on that property, we've been in communication, there hasn't been any gap, and we're not even in the business yet, right? So once you give me the responsibility, what do you think? Do you think I'll do better or worse? I'll do better. I'll be even more top of things than I already am, right? And people are like, yeah, actually, that's right, right? So being consistent and, in delivery, credibility will build credibility and trust, right? So this will start from the first phone call and the first text. And a bonus that I'll throw that in there is even when they decide to list with someone else and they say, hey, we've decided to go with so and so, still say, hey, you know what? I wish you the best. I'm here if you ever need any help. And whatever their goal is, hey, um, you know, I know you'll have fun when you sell your house and you're going to, Bahamas. You're moving to Bahamas or wherever, like Texas, or maybe Nova Scotia. Let's say something nice. It stays with people because you'll be amazed that even after 5 months, 6 months down the line, the agent who sold probably never said anything, and then that line will stay with them. And then if they have a referral, they'll probably send it to you, not the agent who sold their house, right? So we don't have to, that's just a bonus on top of everything. Even when we lose the listing presentation, just thank them for their time and then just wish them well. And that's it for today's session.